This is the Dark Zero Horror Network. Psychological Autopsies.
Welcome to the Dark Zero Horror Network. Join us as we deep dive into all things horror from our favorite movies and TV shows. It'll be a scream.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You hand us the sources, the articles, the research, the obscure novels, and we build you a shortcut to being truly well-informed.
And today, we are definitely in obscure territory.
We're putting on our dream gloves and crawling into a long-forgotten corner of one of horror's biggest franchises, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Specifically, the Black Flame tie-in novels. I mean, this is a series that most casual fans, and honestly, even a lot of hardcore fans, just completely missed when they came out.
And we're starting at the beginning with the first book from 2005.
That's right. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Suffer the Children by David Bishop.
Okay, so the context for this is really important, right? This wasn't just some quick movie tie-in.
Not at all. It was published by Black Flame, which was an offshoot of Games Workshop's publishing arm.
Games Workshop, so like Warhammer.
Exactly. And that's the key. That publisher was known for these massive, deep fantasy and sci-fi worlds. So when they got the contract from New Line Cinema, they gave these books space to breathe.
Or maybe space to suffocate the reader.
Right. I mean, these are big books, like 400 pages each, and they're generally considered to be set sometime after Freddy vs. Jason.
So let's get to the core concept, because it's a really interesting setup for a story about trauma. How does Freddy find his victims this time?
He finds them all in one place, totally vulnerable. The whole story revolves around six really troubled teenagers who all volunteer for a paid anti-insomnia drug trial.
At a place called the Katja Institute, which already sounds shady.
Totally. So they're just there for the money, but Freddy sees this as a perfect opportunity. He somehow corrupts the experimental drug they're taking.
And when they're pushed into the dream world,
he uses that drug, that chemical cocktail, to grant them supernatural powers. But the powers manifest in the waking world.
Okay, so that immediately sounds like a dark version of the Breakfast Club meets, like Dream Warriors.
That's a perfect way to put it. These six kids are all outsiders, they all meet in detention, and the novel really takes its time detailing their lives and their traumas.
Because Freddy needs to know exactly what makes them tick before he can hunt them.
Exactly. He uses their pasts as his blueprint. You really have to get to know these kids to see why the story works.
All right, let's walk through them. Let's start with the protagonist.
Okay, so we have Alex Corwin. She's the new girl in Springwood, which is already a bad sign.
And, of course, she moves into 1428 Elm Street.
Of course. Her main trauma is abandonment. Her father walked out, which led to a history of self-harm. And she's just fighting this constant feeling of being unworthy.
Then you have Peter O'Mahony. He seems like the classic bullied computer nerd.
He is, but his trauma is so immediate. His dad is an ex-jock who not only physically beats him, but just, despises him. He's living in this state of constant fear.
And you can already see how Freddy would latch onto that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it connects directly to the power he gets, telekinesis. It's like this desperate physical need to finally be able to push back. Literally.
That's a great connection. Okay, next up is Chris Harris. He's the athlete.
Right, the African-American athlete. And his trauma isn't physical abuse. It's this immense pressure from his father, Gideon.
Who's obsessed with respectability politics.
Exactly. For anyone who might not know the term, it's basically this idea that Chris has to be perfect, successful, and conform completely to counter negative stereotypes. His father's love is totally conditional.
So he's not allowed to fail, which, for Freddy, is the perfect playground.
Prime target. Then, on the other end of the spectrum, you have Heather Sutherland, the prom queen.
The classic beauty queen. But there's always something hiding there.
And in this case, she's secretly bulimic. And the cause is her alcoholic mother, Tammy, who is just living vicariously through her.
So Heather's entire identity is a performance for her mom.
She has no control. And that leads to the one thing she can control, which is her body. It's really tragic.
And what about Kat Walker, the goth?
You can probably guess the conflict here. Her parents are super strict, fundamentalist Christians. They belong to something called the Church of the Heavenly Vessel.
So her entire identity, the clothes, the tattoos, it's all a rebellion.
It's the only way she can carve out a space for herself against that intense judgmental background.
And finally, the guy who gets them all into this mess.
Lloyd Reeves, the stoner, the drug dealer, he's the one who convinces them to do the drug trial for some quick cash. He's just pure recklessness.
So these 6 broken kids take the drug. Lloyd is the first one to go down, right? He falls into a coma.
Yep, Freddy gets him first. But the other 5, Alex, Peter, Chris, Kat, and Heather, they walk away with these terrifying new powers. Alex gets premonitions, Peter has telekinesis, Chris can control fire.
And Freddy immediately shows up with a contract.
A simple, terrifying contract.
Yeah.
You kill for me or I will kill you.
It's such a dark flip of the Dream Warriors concept. In that movie, their powers were there to save them.
Here, their powers are just tools for their new master. And to make that threat feel real, Bishop had to write a version of Freddy who was genuinely monstrous.
Which brings us to maybe the most controversial part of the book, his characterization.
Yeah. I mean, the sources point out it's very much in line with the Freddy from Freddy vs. Jason Foulmouth. Yeah. Very sexualized. But this book just cranks it up to 11.
Reviewers called him a fucking pervert and way over the top, even compared to the 2010 remake, which is saying something.
It is. What's so interesting is the choice to just double down on the verbal abuse. It's so crude. The sources actually counted. They estimate Freddy uses the word bitch 47 times in the novel.
47, wow.
Right.
That's almost one a chapter.
It's a lot. But the really manipulative part is something else. He repeatedly commands his victims to call me daddy.
And the sources say that happens, what, 18 times?
About that, yeah. And it's so effective because it taps directly into the parental trauma that defines almost all these kids. He finds their deepest wound and just twists the knife.
It's psychologically brutal. So how does that translate into the actual nightmare sequences?
They are.
Yeah.
Memorable. Let's talk about the one with Peter and Alex.
Okay, so Peter, the bullied nerd with telekinesis, finally has this moment of real connection with Alex.
It's this intimate moment he's been craving his whole life.
Yeah.
And then, mid-kiss, Freddy possesses Alex's body. The dream ends, but Freddy, speaking through her, shows him the razor glove and just stands over him.
And demands he call me daddy.
Right. And Peter is paralyzed with fear, but then his waking world power kicks in. He just, out of pure terror, uses his telekinesis to fling everything in the room, books, DVDs, furniture, smashing it all into the walls to defend himself.
It's like his repressed anger finally exploding.
Exactly. And then you have Chris's nightmare, which is just as cool in a different way.
The athlete with the father obsessed with appearances.
Right. So Chris has a dream where he lights a lighter Lloyd gave him, and he just starts burning alive. He's in agony. But his parents are in the room, and they're totally oblivious.
They don't even see that he's on fire.
They see it. They just don't care about him. They're scolding him for scorching the carpet. They literally say, don't scorch the flooring. Best you up to your room and finish dying there.
That is just profoundly awful. The idea that your suffering is less important than a clean rug.
It's pure psychological torture. Freddy isn't just killing you. He's making your loved ones punish you for your own pain.
Now, I know the psychological stuff was praised, but some of the kills were seen as a little predictable, weren't they? Like with Kat, the goth girl with the snake tattoos.
You're right. I mean, as soon as you read she has snake tattoos, you know exactly what's going to happen.
You're going to come to life and attack her.
And they do. So, yeah, it was criticized for being a bit obvious by genre standards.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the imagery was so strong that it stuck with readers anyway. Sometimes a memorable image is all you need.
Okay, let's pivot to the really big changes. The ways this novel just completely breaks from the film canon. It starts with Freddy's death.
Yeah, it totally redefines the history of Springwood. In the movies, the parents burning Freddy was this act of vigilante justice.
A horrible but understandable act of revenge.
Right. But in Stuff for the Children, that's not what happened. Bishop reveals that the Springwood Police Department knew the parents were going to do it.
Wait, they knew?
They knew, and they just looked the other way. It implies this was a sanctioned, systemic cover-up. The whole town was complicit.
So it wasn't just vigilante passion, it was an unofficial execution.
Exactly. But here's the biggest lore change, the thing that completely alters Freddy's origin. He didn't die in the boiler room.
He didn't.
No. He clung to life for 3 days in the Springwood General Hospital burn unit.
3 days.
Wow.
Then the doctors pulled the plug.
That changes everything. It's no longer just the revenge of a boogeyman. It's the revenge of a man murdered by, I guess, medical neglect after being abandoned by the system.
And that hospital becomes really important later. Because Freddy needs a physical anchor in the real world. He finds it in Lloyd Reeves, the kid who's in a coma.
Right, so he uses Lloyd's comatose body as like a puppet, a conduit.
A conduit, exactly. It allows Freddy to fully manifest in the waking world, and he goes on this bloody rampage through the hospital. But he needs more power to sustain it.
And that's where the betrayal comes in, from one of the kids. It's maybe the book's darkest turn. Peter O'Mahony, the bullied nerd, he secretly sides with Freddy, just out of pure overwhelming fear.
So he starts killing for Freddy.
Yes. He uses his telekinesis to kill his own abusive father, Chris's entire family, and Heather. And those sacrifices empower Freddy's control over Lloyd's body.
What a gut punch. So how does it all end?
The finale is Alex confronting Freddy. Peter, realizing what he's done, feels remorse right before Alex accidentally kills him.
An accident.
Yeah, it's chaotic. So she's cornered, and as a distraction and kind of a mercy kill, she kills Lloyd.
Which cuts off Freddy's connection to the real world.
Banishes him right back to the dream world. But then the town, desperate to keep its quiet, covers the whole thing up. They blame all the deaths on Alex.
Of course they do.
She has a complete psychotic break, is judged unfit for trial, and gets locked away in Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital.
But that's not the final twist, is it? There's one more, and it's a huge one. This is where it gets just wild.
It's so audacious. The ultimate cliffhanger is the revelation that Alex is pregnant.
Pregnant with?
Freddy Krueger's son. The child was conceived when she lost her virginity to Peter, but at that moment, Peter was secretly and completely possessed by Freddy.
Oh, man. So she's locked in Weston Hills, pregnant with the literal child of her tormentor. That is a nihilistic horror ending.
It's perfect. And despite how shocking that was and the predictability of some kills, the overall reception was pretty positive. Most agreed it was a solid read that succeeded in making Freddy scary again.
And that brings us back to the publisher, right? The 404-page length.
Yep. Some reviewers did feel it stretched the pacing and got a bit repetitive, but that was the Black Flame style. They were used to these huge, dense narratives from Warhammer, and they brought that same approach here.
And this was just book 1?
Just the start. There were 4 more. Dream Spawn, Protege, where Freddy looks for a new apprentice, perchance to dream, and the Dream Dealers.
They really were building a whole new continuity, but there was supposed to be a direct sequel to this book, wasn't there?
There was. And this is the true missed opportunity. David Bishop had plotted it all out. It was going to be called House of 100 Maniacs.
And it would have brought back Alex Corwin.
Yep, the pregnant Alex, still in Weston Hills as the protagonist. But it was never published. The sales for the whole New Line horror series were flagging, and Black Flame canceled the line before it could get to print.
That is a real shame. That cliffhanger is just begging for a follow-up.
It really is.
Well, if you're a fan of Dream Warriors and that whole idea of traumatized teens with powers, this hidden piece of horror history is definitely one to track down.
And that leads us to our final thought for you to chew on, built entirely from the source material. What would the son of Freddy Krueger, born from a dream-powered, traumatized protagonist like Alex, have meant for the future of the Nightmare on Elm Street universe if House of 100 Maniacs had actually been published? Would Freddy Jr. have inherited the dream-stalking, the waking world powers, or something much, much worse?
This wraps up tonight's deep dive into horror and slashers. Join us next time on the Dark Zero Horror Network as we go into other slashers and other forgotten tales of terror. Sweet dreams.